and welcome to the first episode of English Lessons.
Love it.
That's a great title.
I'm here for it.
It's the best title.
My last name has lots of jokes that are associated with it.
And I'm going to use
being
it.
a math teacher.
I'm
Feel
going to
free.
use it. So I'm Jeremy Nygaard. This is Coach Holly English. And we're going to talk about girls basketball. So thanks for joining me.
You bet.
Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for venturing over. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So like I mentioned with Scott last week, the hard part about doing anything like this during basketball is just the weirdness of the season, the weirdness of the schedule. With football, it's very structured, right? Games on Friday, have all week to prepare. Mm-hmm. With basketball, sometimes it's games this night, have a game the next night. Mm-hmm. So right now, girls basketball, 2-2 through 4 games. Mm-hmm. Season opening loss to Colfax,
correct,
which we'll come back and we'll talk about.
Yep.
2 conference wins, which
were
very fun. And then was it Thursday night?
Yes.
Trip to Elk Mound, loss against a very good team. Mm-hmm. So kind of on the whole, how do you feel about where you are right now, 2-2 through 4 games?
I feel really good about it. I've told a handful of people that I feel like in my now 3 years here, this is the first year where it feels like all the pieces are coming together. My first year, we had a great group of girls who had played together for a really long time, and I was the newbie. So they were figuring out how I coached, right, and we were learning how to work together.
Absolutely.
And then last year, everybody kind of had a handle on how I like to run things, but the majority of our varsity team were girls that had not played together yet. Right. So it was kind of finding the balance there. And now this year we have not only girls, the majority of them have played together before. We also have a couple of newcomers who fit in really nicely, but we're all familiar with each other. We all know, they know how I coach and I know how they play and how to interact with them best. So I'm feeling pretty good right off the bat.
Right, and I think people that have watched this year especially, mm-hmm, it feels like there's mutual comfort, mm-hmm, right?
Absolutely.
With sophomores through seniors on the varsity team with you. Obviously, Coach Kahn's back, Coach Furman's back, mm-hmm, Coach Carroll, new to the staff, but not new to coaching basketball.
Correct.
That everybody seems to kind of know what's going on, mm-hmm, right? What the expectations are. And I can understand how that would have been tougher coming into your situation with a whole bunch of seniors, mm-hmm, right? Losing them. And really the continuity from last year to this year, Marnie and Shayna, mm-hmm, graduated.
Yep.
But most of these other girls were all part of the varsity team last year.
Correct.
With the exception of, I think, really just Shannon and Ella, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
That's how it worked. Okay, so 2-2, first game at home against Colfax. Colfax made it to state last year.
Yes, they did.
Seemed to play really well defensively. How would you grade that game, both from an offensive and defensive perspective, knowing too that they had come into that game having already played a game?
I mean, right off the bat, playing a team that's as strong as they are, it was a challenge for us. And I think, they had their one player who went on a run right at the end of the first half, and it was hard for us to come back from that. So I think it showed that from a defensive perspective, we're very capable of playing high quality defense, and we have players that we can adjust no matter what the circumstance is. We just have to make sure, and I just have to make sure that I adjust quickly when those things happen. I think from an offensive perspective, it showed that while we're a team full of knowledgeable basketball players, we need to find a balance between the structure of our offense and the girls having the freedom to do what they want to do on the floor.
Right. So after that loss, we turn around and we play Amry.
Mm-hmm.
Amry, who lost, I believe, just Grace Carlson from last year, mm-hmm, who was a good player.
Yep.
But returned a number of other good players, and then bring in a pretty strong freshman as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think the expectation, at least in Amry, was that was going to be an Amry win. Mm-hmm. And nothing could have been farther from the truth, because that was a Baldwinville team that played really, really good offensively.
Correct. Shut
Amry down defensively.
Yep.
I think they made 1-3. They were like 1 for 20 from the three-point, mm-hmm, line. And it was a rout. Did it end up being like third? Was it over 30?
No, I think it's 25.
Well, and it didn't feel that close.
It did not.
So how'd you feel after that one?
That one was pretty fun. I told the girls that was one of the most fun wins that I've had in my time here. It was fun because going into that game, we talked a lot about how they're little and they're quick and they like to run and we need to be prepared for it. And then come to find out, we were the team that ran and we were the team that got all those fast break points. And it was really fun to see all these girls play so loose and play together and have confidence from the start to the finish, because there were so many games last season where we ended up with a win, but all that confidence was built in the second half. We had so many second half victories.
Right. And
to play a game where we could play that confident from start to finish, it was fun. It was really fun.
100%. So a good win to start off conference 1-0, and then going to Somerset, which is always a tough place to play, whether you play Somerset there or not.
Yeah.
Last year you went to Somerset and beat Rice Lake. That was a really good game.
Yes, it was.
But go to Somerset, they did lose a number of girls, but they were a game from state last year. And they returned Ryback Hughes, and a very good defender.
Yes.
They have scorers that can score from inside and outside. And it was a fun game. It was a very competitive game.
Yes, it was.
And we led, I believe, the whole first half. They took a lead of 1 point with like 13 minutes left. And then after that, it was all Blackhawks. And we leave with a, I believe, 8-point win. So how'd you feel in the locker room after that one?
Again, it was fun. It's fun coaching these girls, and it's fun seeing the things that they can do on the court. And I think that them coming in and having the knowledge that they have and knowing how to adjust their game for the different teams that we play against. For example, they have Rebecca, who's so long and she sits at the top of their 1-2-2 and just tips passes, and she can create her own shot super well. And being able to have girls with the basketball IQ to both recognize that and make the adjustments that they need. So we focused really hard on good passes and coming to the ball in practice before that game, and seeing that, seeing what we worked on in practice transfer to the game and transfer in our favor was awesome.
So we lead Somerset Gym 2-1, knowing that Elk Mound, 25-2, I think they ended up last year, was next. And they are, at least in my opinion, one of the favorites in our overall section.
Yep.
Right?
I would agree.
And so we go into Elk Mound, another tough place to play, and come out and play really well to start the game.
Yes, we did.
And at halftime, I mean, at that point, I think we're down 5.
27-22. Yep.
And so they had played Prescott, and we're up 16.5, I think. They had played Somerset, and I mean, both those games were almost 20-point games.
Yep.
And so here we are, halftime, down 5. I mean, feeling good, right? The second half doesn't necessarily go entirely our way. They start making some shots.
Yep.
And we lose by a handful, right?
11.
It was 11.
Yep.
But I mean, free throws at the end. It was closer than that.
Yes, I would agree.
So how do we feel leaving the gym, playing a really, really good team? I mean, I'm not one that's super into moral victories, but that game could have been, I mean, 25-2 last year. They lost that one guard, but really bring back their horses.
Yeah.
That point guard is really good, and played a very competitive game against them.
Yeah. I think for us, coming out of that game, I don't know if it was as much of a moral victory as I would have hoped that it would have been, knowing that we only lost by 11 because of how strong we started.
Right.
I mean, we came out of the gates being able to break that run and jump press that they are very, very good at easily. And we broke it and we broke it and we broke it again. So to be able to start a game that strong and then slowly have a couple errors here and there, a couple sloppy plays, a couple turnovers, and then everybody kind of got tense. And then after that, we just had a hard time getting into the rhythm again. So I think the fact that we knew that we could break that press, and then we didn't end up making the adjustments that we needed to make in the second half to continue to come back and eventually have a lead, led to it not being as much of a moral victory as I would have hoped that it would have been, because I think we could have won it.
Right.
So,
and I'll give you credit, because as a fan of that game, I can say that I thought the officiating was very poor. And I don't say that very often. In the booth, I say, officiating is really difficult. Because it is. I mean, and when you're right there, it's harder to see things, and I get that. But there was a number of calls that were made that, they usually even out through the course of a game, right? So, yeah, we didn't get that one, maybe we'll get the next one. But over the course of a game where you don't really get many calls at all, I mean, that's hard, and it's hard for people to play in that situation too, because it's like, who's gonna blow the whistle? Oh, that guy's gonna overrule me. And that's the part, as a former coach, that was frustrating, because it's like, if you just watch your zone and make a bad call, I can handle that, right? Because we're gonna make mistakes. But when that guy over there thinks that he saw it better, that was frustrating for me, because I thought that was a really well played game by two teams, but was poorly officiated in that there was a lot of times that the ball was kind of taken out of the girls' hands by a whistle in someone's mouth, which is frustrating for me.
I can understand that, and I think at the end of the day, and I will say it to the girls over and over, we dictate the outcome of the game, whether we have the best officials in the world or whether we have officials that might not necessarily make calls that I agree with. But there were many instances where we could have made decisions that would have led to the officials playing no part in the calls that were made. So ultimately, it was a frustrating loss, and I wish it would have ended up differently, but we learned a lot from it.
Absolutely. And potentially could see that team later, neutral court, WI assigned officials. I would
love if that would happen.
So this week we have River Falls tomorrow. River Falls played Ellsworth to start the season.
Correct.
That was like the first game of any team in the region. And River Falls played really, really poorly. And then River Falls has since played Colfax and beat them. So we don't really know what River Falls team's going to show up.
It's been very interesting film to watch.
Okay.
So I'm not entirely sure what team we're going to see tomorrow night, but regardless, I mean, we know the tendencies of a lot of their key players, and we know how to adjust to it. So. Okay.
And then we get right back on the horse, and we play a big conference game on Friday night in a difficult place to play a conference game. We beat Ellsworth twice last year. And I think that came as a surprise to many people, just because Ellsworth has been this senior group. This has kind of been the talk of the conference, right? Molly Jenke and Ava Brookshaw, and they have that other junior. Now they have this transfer in from Woodbury. How do we prepare? How do we mentally be in the right place for that game in that environment with the Jankeys in the gym?
I mean, I think we proved last season that we can go into places that are difficult to play at, and we can do the things that we need to do to be successful. And I mean, starting with River Falls, we've got to come in and we've got to prepare for that game, and then after that, leading into another conference game. I mean, every single game matters, but conference games matter. And Ellsworth is a team that they're a fun team to play against, because there's so many girls on the floor, both on our team and on their team, that are so passionate about the game. And especially going into their gym, which is a difficult place to play, it's always a test for our players to be able to come in and not only play a strong physical game, but to play a strong mental game. So we have to make sure that we go in there and we do the things that we need to do, regardless of whoever the refs may be, regardless of the coaching, regardless of the players in the other colored jerseys. I mean, if we can go in there and if we can play a sound mental game, I think there's a strong possibility that we'll come out with another win.
Absolutely. And you say it's important, it's a conference game. It's going to be, I mean, we're going to be in the same region as Ellsworth.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that's just how this is all going to play out. And conference standings, maybe less so as when coaches got together and did the seeding.
Yeah.
Now the computers just kind of questionably put people where they are. Yeah. But you beat a team and you feel like that should count for something. And if you lose to a team, I feel like coaches usually think that counts for something too. So that's going to be a fun one. And then that'll be conference game number 3. And then, we get into close to Christmas where all sorts of crazy things with the schedule happens.
Yep.
So we'll try to figure out a time where we can do this again to kind of recap this week, look at next week. One thing that I like to give coaches the opportunity to do, and you can choose to do this or not, some coaches like to talk about individuals. Some coaches say, we don't need to do that. So if there's anybody that you would like to talk about, not talk about, whatever is completely up to you.
All right.
What do you think?
I mean, I think ultimately we have 24 girls in the gym that show up every day ready to do their job, whatever their job might be. And I think especially over the last couple weeks as we've really gotten the season rolling, a couple players that have stuck out to me are two sophomores that have gotten a lot of varsity minutes over the last 4 games. Ella Rhodey and Shannon Fritz. I mean, they've showed up every single day as two of the main players that haven't played with this group before. So they've had to learn how everybody else plays. Not only have they had to do that, they've had to learn our offenses and learn our defenses, which there's a lot of similar things that they did last year as primarily JV players, but varsity is a different beast. And their willingness to come in and work their tail off and ask questions and make mistakes, knowing that they're making mistakes at practice and they have teammates that are there to support them and help them grow because it's only going to benefit us as a whole. I mean, shout out to those two for showing up every day and working their tail off.
Absolutely. So 24, that's what you have, 9 through 12 right now? That's
23, 24 in a boot.
Okay. So how does that compare to last year? Is it higher numbers?
It is higher numbers than last year, yeah. We have enough for 3 solid levels, which at the end of the day is exactly what we want. We want to get as many girls on the court as we can because that's how they're going to get better and that's how our program is going to continue to grow.
And I do have to ask you this question. Does Lance always have as much energy as he seems to have?
Absolutely.
Is that hard?
It's interesting. He shows up ready to go every single day, and there are some days where I get done with all these middle schoolers, and I get in the gym, and I'm like, woof. And then he comes in fired up, ready to go, between him and Furman yelling at the top of his lungs. It's a grand old time.
See, I've told Lance that sometimes I feel like I should call him in the morning and have him yell at me and get me ready for the day because he's got great energy.
No matter when I call him, whether it's early in the morning, whether it's late at night, whether it's in the middle of the day, he is fired up, ready to go.
That's perfect.
I love it.
This will be the first of who knows how many episodes, English lessons with Coach English.
Gotcha.
And thanks for joining me tonight. We'll be in the booth tomorrow for a non-conference game, and we'll see you soon. So long.
Adios.